Today, we are looking at it. We said gender-based violence through the eyes of those who have lived it, through the eyes of the victims and survivors. And in WACOL, we handle a number of these cases, thousands. And to date, we have given over 82,000, or is it over 81,000 plus free legal aid to women and children, and also persons with disability in especially difficult circumstances. If you look at the voices from the ground, which we are beginning to x-ray using our podcast, and our podcast, which we launched this year to coincide also with the 16 days of activism, is called Breaking the Silence. Breaking the silence. The time is now to break the silence on sexual and gender-based violence, on violence against women and girls, on violence, all forms of violence, including against persons with disability. So some of the podcasts we have showcased so far, beyond the tears of a widow, you will see how a widow wrenching story of how they left the husband in morgue for 16 months because they were trying to force her to swear an oath, and they were accusing her of having a hand in his hand. And meanwhile, they were cutting away their property. There's also a case of where is my evidence? And this where is my evidence is a haunting question, because this baby girl who was raped and stifled to death was named evidence. And I said her body, the body of evidence, became the evidence. And the case still in court, a defilement of a young girl at 9 by a close guard close to the family, and who was preventing her from shouting, and in the process, she stifled her to death. There is also a case of deliverance or deception, where 2 young girls were supposedly to be, this exorcism, whatever they do in the church, and the mother, unsuspecting, allowed the pastor, and in the process, the pastor raped these 2 girls. There is also the case of vicious cycle of violence, and you can see how repeatedly this victim and survivor of violence was violated over and over and over, and she was hoping things will improve. We can also see the trusted whisper, the elderly people's right, which is an issue. Today, one man I know very well, he's still alive, celebrating. I just read in the paper coming in from Abuja, Yakasai, that is 100 today. And both of us served at the Governing Council of Nigeria Institute of International Affairs. I just made a note to talk to him later and say happy birthday, because if you see him, he's also one. I'm sure many of the media people know him. He's always talking and quite active. But elderly people's rights, we have a woman, 104 years, who is suffering violence even at her age. Often given our expected life expectancy, that is even under 60. So to have someone reach 100, you would think is a time the society will take care of them. But we know the concept, the family is a concept in transition. Because now there is a total breakdown, there is a economic urban movement. People don't care for the elderly ones the way they should. And unfortunately, we don't have the safety net, the social security that will take care of that. There is also the case of victim of circumstance. So now, when you look at what are the challenges, apart from funding, in seeking access to justice, it takes a lot. That's why the WACOL takes that burden and say, we will be there. We will give you a shoulder to lean on, and we will fight for you. And we will ensure that those who are in search of justice get the justice they deserve. Lack of support services, impunity, and lack of accountability by perpetrators, they are all part of the problem. So for us, using this act is another way of enter-educate approach, entertainment education approach, to make sure that people through this artwork can kind of begin to realize what violence is. In the past, we've gotten very interesting entry. I tell you, there is one where somebody was just like peeping on a woman, and the woman drew it, and then it came that it was part of her experience. You see people in face me, I face you, and have this type of bashing. There are all kinds of things that happen, and you see people in this era of digital violence, and we're talking about unite to end digital violence. And they will film and upload people. So do all kinds of things that can tarnish your image. So educating our community to be part of the campaign, to champion and to raise voices and to ensure that perpetrators are held to account is very, very important. Investing in services such as WACOL provide. WACOL provide integrated services, legal, social, psychosocial support, because we have a shelter where we can keep people at the peak of crisis and they stay there until they recover. We give also medical support. We have also we do support through the court process. I think all of this matters. Why we engage in advocacy. Policy, advocacy for policy change, and ensuring implementation of extant laws like the Violence Against Persons Prohibition Law, to make sure that stakeholders, police, judges, prosecutors, magistrates, they are aware of both national, regional, and international treaties that speaks to the issue of women's, that speaks to the issue of ending violence against women. So we need to engage men and boys, catch them young, because if we do, it will change mindset, it will change attitude, it will shift attitude, stereotype, and the conceptualization of inferiority complex or you're superior to a girl. I once had a program, I think it was in WTC, long ago, over 20 years, I was researching something on adolescent sexual reproductive health rights. And I asked the secondary school people, who can tell me the difference between a boy and a girl? And one said, the difference is clear. I'm a man. I was just like, the difference is very clear, So this is already the some preference ideology, kind of give them the power, the masculinity. But we want positive masculinity. We don't want negative masculinity that will create an environment that will not be enabling for everyone to grow. So our call for action is to let's unite our voices, take action and build a nation, a Nigeria that is free from violence, a Nigeria that recognizes women's rights,